well, it's not your typical setup. I like have your distillery make your stuff and sell it. I originally launched the product back in 2017 on contract with Strathairn Distillery. I think there was only Dark Matter and Seawolf out at that time, so it was still early doors for Scottish rum. But as you know, there's been plenty of producers. Oh, got a bottle in hand there.
I'm going to open it, mate.
Go for it. I won't stop you. But no, it's on contract being produced because I still work full time in a garage. That's my background. I'm a mechanic by trade. So this is a kind of an avenue to get out of that dirty game and do something fun. So put my notice in with the garage back in March, just before COVID happened. So it's been a bit hectic the last couple of months, to say the least. But yeah, the setup last year, mid last year, or maybe 2018, time's flying this year. I was approached the distillery in Dumbarton, which is a bit closer to where I stay in Glasgow. It's just 20 minutes outside city centre. And the idea was to produce the rum here fully myself, using his kit. But also, I would help him on the production side, making his vodka and gin, which is a new make malt base. So it's kind of like hand in hand. He takes him away from the production. He can do a lot of the paperwork side of things. And it gives me experience and access to the big fancy German copper still that's in there. But yeah, as of the start of this year, he offered me the job to go full time, but still letting me do the rum on the side, keeping that fully myself. So yeah, I just jumped at that. It would be stupid not to, really. So yeah, working with a big bit of kit that I don't actually own, but I fully get to make some nice, tasty rum on.
So is that really the best benefit of it all? You know, I mean, you've sort of jumped out of one career and gone feet first into another, all the risk that kind of associated with that, but you haven't got a massive financial burden.
Well, that's it. That is it. I don't have all the capital needs for rent, and the still itself, I think it cost about 180k. So don't need to pay for that. But as you said, you don't need a big fancy bit of equipment to make some nice rum. Like the wee experimental stuff you've had was made on a 300 quid alembic still that I modified into a double retort still. So that's about 500 quid worth of equipment making some quite funky rums. But that's the production side. If that wasn't too clear last time, so I think it was a bit rushed on time because we just get carried away with how things go.
There's no harm in going through just kind of like, I mean, I know we've done it a few times tonight, but there's no harm in just going through, like, where do you source your molasses from? What was your thinking on yeast and stuff like that? We've kind of raised the point that, you know, that fermentation is key. It's really important. That's where flavors are generated. We want to know your thinking behind it, please.
Well, I think, as you said before, like a lot of the kind of British rums, not just Scottish, they tasted very similar. And I guess that was just getting the same source of molasses, the same bulk yeasty. It's designed for rum. So that was all the same profile. Obviously that's from the fermentation. But as I've kind of came along, I like, as I said before, I jump in feet first in the deep end, trying to kind of learn different aspects of it and try and tweak it and develop it as a product. It's not going to be the same product. It's going to evolve as, obviously, I say skills, but as I've got more experience. Like using a double retort, that's totally different from the base white rum, as you know. But again, that base white rum using a 12-plate column with a pot still attached to it, it's still a really flavorful rum, light, fruity, but yeah, it's a good solid base.
Are we able to? Is it too complicated to get a wee view of the setup?
So it's a really small space. It's basically an old gatehouse, but that's the 1,400 litres. So you've got the pot still, which is attached to this big fancy column, and it goes about 6 meters tall. And then that's a condenser and into your product collection tanks. But fermentation-wise, it's just a big stainless steel tank. But for the vodka, we actually have a chill filtration setup, and the pipe work goes out to a glycol chiller, and we can chill it down to about -17, which is pretty cool. But definitely don't want to do that for rum and take out too much flavour. Also, maybe show you a little baby double retort still there.
You would have access to ones that have a little play, you know.
Oh, it's good fun. I think when I went down to London, I had a little bottle of the experimental rum, I think Wes called it. What was it again? Oh no, haggis juice. He told me to call it haggis juice. But it was getting mistaken for a Jamaican rum, which is quite a feat. Um, yeah, it was quite interesting. I think I gave it to you when we had the Foursquare tasting as well. I think it caught you, Richard, Stephen, Eva all by surprise. That's what I like doing. I just like making things that people enjoy. But that's maybe my downfall because, like Dave says, you need to look at the business side of things. So I think that's maybe my weak point at the moment.
Well, let's counter that by that there is still an R&D and kind of development phase. You know, you need to know what you want and what works, and it could be the little bits of this experimental, just like a 5% addition into the blend might.
Yes, well, that's what I did try. I gave a blend to Stephen after our rum festival, and it was 50-50 with say high ester. That ester's been thrown around a lot today, so don't want to overdo it. But that mixed with the Cascade stuff was phenomenal. You had all that vanilla from the virgin oak casks, and then there's really strong strawberry notes in the high ester stuff, which was it smelled like strawberry cream rum. It was mad. But that's what I quite enjoy.
So we have. I kind of want to talk about this a little bit more, and also I could tell that people have started to sip on the
yeah. I can scroll through comments. That's quite
yeah. So before we talk about it, if there was a long serve for it, so that we can chat a little bit more, how would people drink this in a long serve?
I'm not too complicated. I would drink this in Lilt or Cola. That's just me. But I made a Glasgow punch. So that is one shot Jamaican rum. It was Jam 45. I've got one shot of Scotch Bonnet, 20ml lime, 20ml lemon. Just basically a light punch with simple syrup, dash of bitters and some black tea, which is a new addition that I've found courtesy of some of the chats that's been going on. Adds a nice dry kind of tannic note to all these rum punches.
Well, please share the spec out on your Sugar House Rum Instagram, please.
I know that's one thing I'm starting to kind of get used to is posting all these cocktails and stuff. Not enough time in the day.
Rum is one of those categories where where it crosses over. You know, we don't have the level of conversation about in whiskey. You know, I mean, people use whiskey in cocktails and stuff, but it doesn't happen. Whereas other categories are all about cocktails. Rum's travel. You know?
That's what I always like talking. I'm obviously wearing the usual rum festival attire here, and it's my work uniform. But like the rum festivals, you always tell people, they say, "Oh, how do you like it?" And you don't get judged at rum. You just drink it how you like it, straight. Just mix those cocktails, anything, rum tonic, as you so are hard trying to get everybody to drink. But yeah, with whiskey, there's a big bit of snobbery with that. Gin, you have all these sophisticated tonic waters, but rum sits really nice in the middle, as you can have it how you like it, and you're not going to get judged on it.
I think we've got a benefit as well. I mean, today, there's nothing that we've tried today is light in character. Everything has full of flavour. I mean, if I was to pick the very lightest sort of one, thing, but it'd be difficult to pick it out. Even the lightest one still has lots of character about it, and so we're in a position where actually these spirits you can enjoy them for what they are, but actually in a serve, it's a wonderful thing. It stands out. The spirit is the star of the show.
Yeah.
You know, that's just a win-win. It's gonna. I think this is good to get people drinking. Not everyone, but probably earlier on. In fact, you know what? Actually, just double check whether people drinking need because why not? Is that the chili spice one? Scotch one?
Yeah, chili spice. So I was going to put in the white rum to line up with kits and live rum and things like that, but I thought, I just need that kind of shock factor, like you had at the IWSC. End of the night, just have a big chili hit. But it's this kind of stem that was between traveling to Barbados with the rum geeks, as it were, and between my friend as well coming back. And you had all these chili sauces with all the tropical fruits.
Yeah.
And my friend was like, "Oh, you need to do a chili rum. There's like nothing on the market like that at all." I know there's a few in the States, as you pointed out. But all these flavors you had and these sauces, it was like pineapple, grapefruit, passion fruit, mangoes, all these things. So that's where this came from, is trying to find a match. Originally had things like cardamom and vanilla, but then just totally changed it with a few friends. We came up with pineapple, grapefruit, and passion fruit, and then a Scotch bonnet. and it's a really fruity, really nice spiced rum. Well, I don't know if would you call it spiced rum? Would you call it chili rum?
Well, I mean, maybe I'm a bit disingenuous in some respects, but I kind of lump, if it's flavored, once it's flavored, it's not rum.
Yes.
To me, it doesn't really matter whether you call it flavored rum, spice rum, or a particular botanical unique thing. It's been flavored. I'm sort of being pestered a smidge by back of house for a simple serve. Have you got the simplest serve? I mean, like, you think Lilt, is that your favorite?
Yeah, I'm a sucker for Lilt. Pineapple grapefruit is just brilliant. But even just a straight rum and coke, usually when you get rum and coke, you get really big vanilla hits. So having the fruits in there and the chili, it just totally changes what you'd expect a rum and coke to be. It has that warmth of ginger beer, but without the really strong ginger notes, which I'm not a big fan of. But it's really nice. Just a rum and coke over ice.
So it's probably worth, you alluded to it earlier on, it's probably worth just kind of sharing for the rum world is a small world. I'm connected with Ross on social media, have been for a while. Last year I was judging with IWSC, and obviously Ross had known that he had entered the competition, and he was waiting for some comment or feedback. And I have to say that when you judge at IWSC, you are not told what is coming. Everything is judged entirely blind. But in the case of something like something that may have a degree of heat about it, maybe that possibly would affect your palate, you're sort of, it's highlighted so that you can position it in the either at the end of the morning session, so then you can go and have a lunch break afterwards, something that's not good, you don't get to affect your palate for subsequent. So I kind of like, it got to the end of it, and I'm getting these messages, very pointed messages from Roscoe, like, so did you try anything stand out? And I go like, bloody hot spice rum.
Yeah, I think it was more like sorry, not sorry, or something like that.
And the honest truth is, it was this year for IWSC, I wasn't judging. It was a very different world this year because of COVID and everything else that's going on. But they did manage to get together a panel. But last year there was 8 of us, as there should be for IWSC. So, anything that scores well in a panel like that, has to be, everyone has to agree on it. So we kind of get this thing, we kind of look at it, you're like, what do you think to that? Well, it does exactly what it says on the tin. This is absolutely nailed how it's described. So I can't remember exactly how it was scored in the end. I don't remember, honestly. A year's a long time in my life, but it stood out. It's like fantastic. I'm glad you put it in. You know what? I am glad you put it into this kit. I know you could have run with the regular white, but so I'm now going to.
That's I've got. There's the 3 rums. So I'll dig them out, show them off. So there is the original white rum. Don't know if you can see that there. So that's the base rum that you use for all the rums basically. It's a 5-day fermentation using basically whiskey yeast and some nutrients I won't give away because that's like secret sauce. And once that's fermented, it's about 10% wash. So it's quite a high wash, and it's fermented once through the Holstein still, but because it has the 12 plates, it comes out at 93.7%, which is the average. It's quite cool, but there's still a lot of flavour in there. But with the spiced rums, trying to add the spices without masking the rum, because there's no point in calling it spiced rum or anything like that if you can't taste the rum. But then I have the original spiced, which is all natural, get the flavors from vanilla, cocoa, lime, and cinnamon. So it's a kind of typical sweet spiced rum, but without any added sugars. And then you have the Scotch Bonnet one, which everybody's trying just now. So nice wee difference to the lineup.
I have to say, honestly, I know that the heat. So in a tasting competition, I am a little scared of this because I don't know what the downstream effect would be on my palate. But sitting here sipping this, at the end of the day, there's so much fruit in it. It really is. It's this is exactly that pepper sauce vibe. That you put out. So you've done a very, very good job. It's kind of capturing the heat without being ridiculous. There's still being.
It was tempting to kind of go that level, but I actually do want to sell some rum. So. There was an idea of maybe having a bitters to accompany it where you can actually add more heat, which would be quite cool. But again, that's one thing of many that need to get done. There's only so many hours in a day. But yeah, it's fun doing the rum festivals with Lucy and things, just to get people's reactions for that one. It's just funny to pour it and then just wait for the reactions to see when the heat kicks in. But yeah, it's a really fun rum. I'm quite proud of that one. I think I've done Stephen from Rum Diaries. He's done a lot of work with because he really likes it. He's done many cocktails with it, and there's that old tiki drink with the gin, the Saturn, and because it's got the passion fruit in it, he thought it'd be good to match it with the passion fruit lemon. So he started his rum Saturns, and then he called it the Titan to obviously make a difference. But yeah, he's been doing a lot of work with these things, and he really likes it. But he was one of the folk that actually went to Barbados with.
It's very cool. It is very cool, and it's one of those things where I think I didn't allude to this earlier, but actually, when you make a very good spice rum or like a sort of this isn't a single botanical rum. There is far more going on in there. But when you make that, it actually is a very interesting modifier for cocktails. It doesn't have to be on its own. It can be part of something more. So there is plenty to be said for it being used in a tiki style or that kind of tropical style drinks. It's absolutely. Interesting, drinking and eating Stilton.
That's like you say. It's when you're looking for rums to stand out in cocktails, you need something like this. So that's partially where it's designed for as well. Just it's a lot of white rums. You need something subtle to kind of bring out the flavors. Like obviously daiquiri, you got your sweet and sour. But yeah, if you're going for some fancy tiki cocktails, you need something strong in that sense to stand out and actually have its own signature. So I think going forward, like Dave says, need to actually be professional. Dave probably says be professional with the business side of things. Try and push this one because it is that shock factor and people seem to really enjoy it. As much as the white rum has its place in my heart as like being my favourite, I just really like that sipping it neat. I think the Scotch Bonnet is what will sell really well in bars and things like that.
Yeah. Well, so I mean, is it something that can easily be scaled up? What if a supermarket chain picked it up? Would you be like properly screwed? Come on, mate, you want to
the guy who worked for Ricky, he used to be in supermarkets with his vodka because he was technically the original Scottish craft distiller back in 2011 before craft wasn't even the thing. But the margins and volume in supermarkets is ridiculous. It would be nice to be offered, but this scale, it's not really worth it for us. But I think working with on-trade is probably the way forward, and kind of raising awareness about Scottish rums, getting them as house pours versus the big corporate kind of stuff. It's probably the way forward for us.
Yeah. So what is? I mean, there's two aspects to the Glasgow. I mean, you're based in Glasgow. We didn't allude to that at the beginning, but you are. Might mention the Sugar House rum part unless you tell me not to, like in relation to the conversation we had earlier on. But like, what is the Glasgow rum scene like for you? I mean, it feels like it feels like a place to be, Glasgow.
Yeah, it's getting there. There's obviously a few bars you've been up to yourself. The Tiki Bar, there's Blue Dog, there's a Revolution de Cuba as well. I can't go wrong with them. That's always good. But the bar scene is pretty strong, and they've got the back, and as long as they can see that you're a genuine brand, genuine people, they will have your back. Just like the rum scene in general, I guess. So it's pretty good. Edinburgh is one place I kind of need to spend a bit more time with. I know. Obviously, got the Edinburgh Rum Club live watching as well. So hint, hint, I will get in contact. But
well, you have a portfolio. You can do a rum club.
Yes, well, that's the plan. I think speaking to Liam and stuff at the Tiki Bar, I need to get back in touch. This is obviously COVID things just put everything up in the air. But they've opened back up I think it was last weekend. They had the beer garden, which is pretty cool what they've done to that. So yeah, the Glasgow Rum Club to get to the Edinburgh Rum Club and start, putting myself out there, I guess. Since I've now got the time, I need to justify being full time in the booze industry now.
Yeah,
I can't.
Are you able to? I mean, within the scope of the distillery itself, are you able to ramp up and produce a lot more spirit within the kit you've got there?
Yeah, that's the plan. Just had an IBC of molasses delivered a couple of weeks ago, but there's some vodka that I need to produce first and get that out of the way. So I'll hopefully get a ferment started tomorrow and then get production on the go. Because I think that's about 4,000 or 5,000 litres worth of wash I can make with one IBC. So that's a good bit of rum. Just need to get bottling, get it out there.
Crack on. Well, you're
That's
full
it.
time. I mean, you're like the emphasis is now on you to kind of get on and do it, I guess. So.
Well, yeah, that's it. Like, been working the last year, I've been working here part time as well as working full time in the garage. So now I've kind of got enough stock and things that I can actually start producing on bigger scale and start pushing it actually a bit more. Because I think that was my downfall. It was almost like a professional hobby. I didn't have that time that I could actually invest into it. So now I do work full time in the booze industry, so I can be more professional about it and yeah, just push sales and push the rum, get it out there.
I have to say, actually, thank you to you, Ross, because you're the one who introduced Stephen Mullen to the group.
Yeah,
It was an absolutely fantastic addition
yeah,
to.
I really, really enjoyed it. I think that was one of my favourite parts of the event so far.
Absolutely. So the connection, are you happy with Sugar House Rum as that kind of connection? So you look back, is it something that sticks
Yeah,
up?
like when I started, I knew that Glasgow had history to rum, but I didn't know the full extent. So doing my own research, found that the old sugar houses, that kind of thing. So that was the idea, sugar house rum. But as I've kind of came along and I say grown as a business or person, looked more into it, and obviously, yeah, it's quite eye opening to some of the stuff you find out. But I think that's the point of having chats with people like Stephen and Graham Campbell, Glasgow City Councillors on here as well. It's to open these conversations and keep the chat going because, like it said, Glasgow was built basically on the slave trade. It's not taught in schools, but what's stopping? I don't know what's stopping you actually going out and finding out yourself. Like I did, took a bit of time, but I think it's at the stage changing the name. I know like plantation or doing plantations definitely got negative connotations to it. Sugar House, even though it was linked, not as the imagery around it. I don't think it's as bad as plantation. Um, but there are the links there. There's the families that were involved. Did have plantations in all countries in the Caribbean. Um, Also, we talked about Hampden earlier on. That was the Stirling's Ikea. But yeah, there's no point trying to change the name if there's history behind it, and you can do it justice and actually keep let's say keep the conversation going. I've said that, but yeah, raise awareness and like rum is I say riddled, but the slavery, all the bad things that have been happening, like tied in the sugar trade, the rum trade, merchant trade in general. We can just talk about it and do a bit of education, and yeah, it's pretty good that we've got Stephen and Dave and Graham and yourself, everybody involved in actually pushing this forward and doing it the justice it needs.
Yeah. So I kind of just from my point, I think we need to keep the conversation going. And I think it's really important. I would say that if you're going to be like Plantation, don't wait until you're registered in like 65 countries around the world.
Yeah.
Trademark, and maybe do it sooner rather than later.
Yeah, well, that's only one of their issues, but we'll not maybe get onto that one tonight.
So yeah, okay. The other part, I would say there are three vocal components to sort of like the identity of Scottish rum and sort of distillers associations and things like that. And I would like to say that possibly you were the first person that brought that kind of conversation up about sort of the sort of identity of Scottish rum. I mean, like based in Glasgow, you're
Right
at
in the
the
middle of it. It started well over a year ago because I know Colin from the rum was one of the second rum festival in Glasgow, I think it was, and then Kit obviously helped Kit we set up when he was just starting off, and yeah, we just had the conversations going about what we can do together, and seen that there's a lot of these new rum companies. There's nothing wrong with some of the rums that are coming out, the spiced rums and things, but it's following the same trends that gin are, which is very gimmicky. So you're taking some rums from the Caribbean, putting a geographical tag on it, say it's from Edinburgh, from Aberdeen or whatever, but it's not. It actually comes from the Caribbean, so it's losing that identity of where it actually came from, just purely for marketing. So we're trying to get on this while we can because we're still a bit of ahead of the curve. Rum, it's on the rise, no doubt about that, but try and do something about it. Not in a bad sense, more proactive, saying, well, this is maybe how you should be labeling it. This is what you can do, rather than saying, no, you can't do that, you can't do this. That's just, you get more kickback doing that way. But yeah, we're trying to come together, have some, I say rules and regulations, but it's more about defining what is Scottish rum. there's no point having a GI like whiskey does, because we don't have a style like Barbados has. It's a Barbados rum or Jamaican rum. We don't have our own style. As you know, each of our base rums is very, very different. But a rum, if I take my rum recipe down south, distill it in England on the Cornwall coast, as some of these rum distilleries keep popping up, it will be a total different spirit, purely because the water's different, things like that. So there are some geographical factors that come into making Scottish rum or British rum or whatever you kind of look at. But yeah, we're at the point where we can do some good. We can set some rules or definitions, maybe is the best word for that.
Guidance.
Yeah, guidance. Yeah, probably that's it. And actually do some good by the rum category, because it is plagued with sweetened rums and not actually saying these things. So there's so many things that we can do, but we're at the point we can actually do something about it. And that was the point of reaching out to Paul and Jay. I'd already spoken to Colin and Kit. We have Ben on Isla, and we've got the guys at the UK Rum Club, Wes, Stephen. They've been big help for us setting up as well and pushing us, because they know we're genuine guys, genuine products, and yourself as well. But there's a big push. We're in a position we can do something, so why not do it? And Jay had the idea of holding this festival, and I need to have a big thank you to Jay for putting this on, all the hard work she's put into this. But it's been cracking to watch, and hopefully we can do something going forward with this. Yeah,
we nearly, I have to say, in terms of thinking about polls, we nearly, should we put one out, like, should there be another one here, and should it be virtual? Maybe we don't need the feedback just yet.
I think it was just saying that the amount of packs sold outside Scotland has been pretty phenomenal. So if we have a live event, then it's kind of limited to locals, basically. So the virtual one has been pretty good with the reach. That's pretty.
No, I agree. I think there's been lots of negatives with the COVID lockdown, but actually the use of the internet to spread information. I mean, Joe mentioned it earlier on, and the feed that she's sitting in her front room looking at all these various distilleries around. This is a great way to save your carbon footprint and still. Yeah, I hope this is the first of many. And whether I'm sitting in the chair or what, it doesn't matter. But either way, I'll be watching. We're not quite finished yet. Future, really. What's so where do you want to be? We have got a few minutes here.
Few minutes.
10 minutes. Where do you want to be in the future?
Well, one of the things I've not really looked at, which is maybe where Colin is more experienced, is kind of age stock. I have a couple of barrels from when I previously made at Strathair. They're about 2.5 years old, so maybe release one now, maybe wait till 3 years old, but it's only small barrels, so 50 litres in there for 2.5 years are quite woody. But yeah, I think moving into maturation of rum, getting some casks, filling them, leaving them long term, see what happens. Hopefully it's good things. But yeah, that's one aspect. Another aspect is kind of working with the other guys for the Scottish Rum Association Collective, whatever we're going to call it, and doing that side of the work, and maybe doing some kind of charity things as well, charity events, or just a bit of education. I think Sugar House wise, I was pushing the rums I've got now and expanding with age stock, because there's all sorts you can do there with different types of wood, as you know, speaking to Colin earlier on. I think you mentioned about getting some casks moved down to a different location, see the evaporation. If that'd be quite cool.
That would be interesting, wouldn't it? I mean, it'd be. Yeah. I think it'd be really interesting. I mean, I've ever since I've been talking about rum, I've been saying that there is life beyond American oak. I mean, American white oak is fantastic. It does a superb job of making things.
You've got Ben on Isla as well. So if Kit has a cask of rum, he could send up to Colin. Colin can send one to him. I can send one to Ben. Ben can send one to me. And then we can do all sorts of things like that. And even to send stuff to Jay and Paul, that's East Coast versus West Coast maturation. That might be a different thing. So there's loads of factors there.
It comes to me as just as you say that, why not do this cask exchange and then put this together, a blend for this time next year, where actually it's a blend of those various casks, and it's just coming out. Put something out there. That could be the charitable contribution to the Ben next year.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's a good wee idea.
No, the question is fine. Go away and talk about it after. It's been an absolute pleasure. I'm going to pour another little measure of this one, because this is the end of the day now, as far as I'm concerned. We're pretty much there. Are we pretty much there? Have we covered all the questions? We had a good flurry on the chat. I just want to make sure that we haven't missed anything on that. The Scotch Bonnet Firewater comment. You know what? Actually, I mean, I know my palate's fairly used to alcohol through today, but actually, I think that it could stand to be a little hotter, mate. You know, you could get away with it. No,
maybe make a special bottling for you and some of the mad chili fiends. It seems it's been quite a good wee day for the amount of rum that's been consumed as well. I think everybody's been well behaved, even Kip for a change. Yeah.
And that was even said in the Scottish.
Keep my mouth shut.
No, honestly, it's been lots of fun. So, have we managed to get all of the questions? So I'm just looking for guidance at the back of house. There was the flurry through the chat column was far too much. Last year, the Rumfest was wonderful. It's a shame this year there isn't going to be another Rumfest, because the boutique Rumfest last year was genuinely fantastic. The snapshot of what's going on, you were very generous. I was slightly scared by the sample bottle you gave me that said "Do not drink," which was
a little Alice in Wonderland bottle, as I kind of like to call it. That was some of the experimental stuff. That was pretty high ester stuff. I sent Dave some of that as well. Dave Brim, he seemed to quite enjoy it. And I think Stephen put in a chat, he still got half a bottle after Rumfest. Yeah. He was making some fancy daiquiris with that one. That was pretty cool. I hope might try and get a couple of wee batches of that on the go again. But it's trying to scale that up. There's so much involved with that process. Yeah. Because it's not just a case of fermenting, distilling. There's some extra steps that I obviously can't divulge, because it's trade secrets and mysterious and all that. But I think an overproof similar to that high ester stuff would be pretty cool. I think we talked about the imitation rum. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
So I think we are slightly winding to a close there. I think thank you very much for your time. Ross, don't run away just yet. We're going to throw our last poll of the day out. In your view on rum made in Scotland, has it changed for the better? I'd be very disappointed if I didn't see lots of yeses on that.
Slightly biased with that one.
And I will chase people down if they say no. But I think from just really, I think we've completed a wonderful journey through quite a few different rum styles and levels of production. I mean, like from small scale to slightly bigger and everything else. And I think honestly, it feels vibrant. Thank you very much, Ross, for your time. I do appreciate that. I've got a tiny amount of wrap up, and then we will be heading to a little bit of a party.
Yeah.
Thanks very much, my friend.